Can you ride a dirt bike up a vertical wall? Oh my God. Oh my God, it's working. Oh, guys, this is just one of the 40 myths we're going to check out in today's video. Oh, I wanted to find out, can you loot supply drops while they're still in the air? And yes, you can just fly up to them, open them, and even grab the loot and bring them back down. This is going to be a really useful trick. A lot of people have forgotten you can still ride the wildlife in chapter 4, but the question is, can you rocket ride a boar while you're on top of it? And yes, you can. You don't even have to worry about falling to your death because the boar will take the fall damage for you. So there's a myth that you can actually revive your teammate while holding out the shield. And yes, you can do this. This would be really useful, especially in zero build. Okay, so now we got to see if this works with a reboot van. And it does. You can reboot and revive while holding out the shield. So I've been playing a lot of trios with Ninja and Courage lately, and after we wipe the POI, we're always trying to get out of there on a dirt bike, and Courage is just a little too slow to get to the bike. And I was wondering if there's any way for us to have a third person on the bike, and unfortunately, this myth is busted. You can really only have 2 people. Sorry, Courage. You're going to have to go find another car or something, man. And there's no space for you. So back in OG Fortnite, there used to be a trick with the clingers where if you got stuck with one, you could actually do an emote and it would fall off of your body. And if you were quick enough, you could get away from the explosion. And apparently this also works with the Excalibur. So we're going to test this out. And yeah, it does work. If you do an emote quick enough, you can avoid the explosion of the Excalibur. And honestly, I might have to start binding an emote to a quick button or something because this could be really useful. So we've seen a lot of clips of people being eliminated from objects that were flying at them from hammers, but apparently snowballs track players really well, and not a lot of people know that they can just launch snowballs at their opponents to eliminate them. All the OG Fortnite players remember all the tricks to get a super launch pad, whether it was using bouncers or the cannons in chapter 2 and 3. But I wanted to see if maybe soaring sprints could give us a higher launch. So when we do this without soaring sprints, we're going up about 57 meters. And now with soaring sprints, it's actually the same. You don't get any higher. I actually thought I was going higher. I guess it must have been placebo. All right, this was actually one of my new favorite tricks. I already know it's going to work. And it's really annoying when people run away with vehicles, especially if you don't have a spray weapon or if they're like in a big truck, you can't actually shoot them. But there's a way to actually swing your pickaxe at anybody driving or anybody in your car. And to do this, all you have to do is hold down your pickaxe swing as you enter the vehicle, and you just aim in their direction, and you can just start swinging at them while they drive. This is super useful for those pesky people who just love to run away. Okay, so this next one is kind of interesting, especially if you're a pro player. As you guys know, if you drive around in a car and you run through a bush, you'll actually just break the bush. But there's a myth that you can actually hide a car in a bush, and this can be very useful, especially with the new bush bomb item. So the way to do this is to drive towards a bush and then swap seats and let your car roll into the bush. Now, once you're inside, you can go back in the driver's seat and position it however you want so that it can stay hidden in the bush. A lot of people might not know about the fields of slap berries that are on the map right now where you can gather some slap berries, but there's a rumor that you can use the hammer to gather a lot of them very quickly. And yes, this is true. If you use the hammer on them, you can actually pick up a bunch all at once. So now that we're in chapter 4, a lot of people are wondering if the 7 will return to the game. Well, here's the interesting thing. If you remember, the MK7 and a lot of the weapons that the 7 had, including their armor, had a blue and red color scheme to it. Well, the MAVEN shotgun and the twin mag SMG actually both have the same exact color scheme. So even though we thought the 7 were all gone, they might be having a bigger impact on chapter 4 than we thought. So there's this myth that First Assault actually gave you the damage boost multiple times if they had shields. And actually this myth would have been confirmed, but Epic, thank you so much. They actually fixed this bug by the time this video went out. Okay, so this is one of the most important myths we need to check. As you guys know, in chapter 4, snowballs got introduced into the game. A lot of you guys might not even know that, but we need to know, does a campfire melt a snowball? This is game changing if it is. Let's see it right here. And it doesn't, unfortunately. So earlier in the chapter, people figured out that you can actually levitate a car by slamming your hammer down with your teammate. And I wanted to see if this might work on the kinetic or on the map. So I hopped in game to try this out for myself. And unfortunately, it doesn't send you up to keep you up in the air. So you can't really keep flying with it like you can with the trucks and cars. But it does send you in the direction that you're hammering. So this could be good for rotations. So back when snipers were in the game, people were obsessed about getting the longest range snipes they can get. However, past 300 meters, your snipe will actually just disappear and those bullets do not travel that far. But with the Chapter 4 Excalibur, there's a myth that it doesn't actually work like that, and you can damage somebody with the Excalibur from infinite range. So we decided to test this, and we went way far back, even out of render distance, and with the perfect shot, the Excalibur does stick opponents even if they're past 300 meters. So this myth is confirmed. So in Chapter 4, you can now capture the flag points at every major POI, and it reveals all the loot in that area, including marking all the opponents. However, there's a rumor that on performance mode, it doesn't show the full opponent's silhouette. And as you can see, on performance mode, you don't actually get to see that. So it's kind of pay to lose. And honestly, after this, I'm no longer using performance mode. So some of you might have seen this weird glitch where you slide cancel and you end up drifting and multiplying all your resources and materials. But I actually saw a video from Kaido's where he used this trick to run on water. So I had to try this out myself. And unfortunately, after many failed attempts, I'm pretty sure Epic just fixed this. So this myth is busted. So rocket riding has been a big part of Fortnite, including just riding a bunch of different items and different projectiles, but apparently they made it a lot easier this chapter. So let's see if you can rocket ride a flopper. And yes, this myth is confirmed. Apparently you can rocket ride a flopper. So the new slap juice effect got added in Chapter 4, and there's 3 different ways to get them. You can eat the berries, there's also slap juice containers, and there's slap juice bottles, but apparently they're not all created the same. So we're gonna test this. It seems like the slap berry actually gives you 20 seconds of infinite sprint, and the container, on the other hand, gives you 30 seconds, while the slap juice bottle gives you 40 seconds of infinite sprint. So that one's gonna be the best. And now you know. This next myth has been keeping me up at night, guys. I need to know the answer. In Chapter 4, can you turn a normal flopper into a spicy flopper by using the spicy splashes? And no, unfortunately, it stays a normal flopper, and there's no way to fish a spicy flopper in Chapter 4. Can you activate soaring sprints without jumping? There's this myth going around that you actually can. All you have to do is crouch up to an object and start sprinting, and then press your jump button, and now you'll have the soaring sprints effect on you the entire time until you hit the jump button again. So this myth is confirmed, and it's actually pretty useful because you keep the soaring sprints effects until your next jump. So mantling has been around for a little bit, but there's this myth that you can actually mantle up 2 stories. Some pro players figured this out, and the way to do this is not that easy, honestly. You got to edit a window and pretty much mantle and reset at the same time. And if you do this right, you actually mantle twice and can go up 2 build stories very easily. Guys, we're all going to be using that next game, right? I'm already practicing creative right now. So the kinetic ore is now on the map, and honestly, not a lot of people are utilizing these, even though they're pretty interesting. But there's a myth that you can use one kinetic ore to charge another kinetic ore if it hits it. This is actually true, and it looks like it instantly charges it to its maximum charge. Okay, so after that last myth, I want to know, can I create some sort of chain domino effect with the kinetic ore if I line them up properly? And honestly, yeah, you kind of can, but it's not as cool as I thought it was going to be. So the hammers have been in the game, and they actually stayed in arena and competitive, which I think overall is a good thing for the sake of competitive. But there's a unique strategy that some pro players figured out, that you can actually hammer people down into your box if you hammer underneath them while underneath a ramp, and also build yourself a box to catch yourself in. And this is proving to be very useful, especially in competitive matches. So a while ago, they changed the reboot vans to where you actually just spawn in the sky. And I've always wanted to know, could you just build up and catch them straight out of the sky? Apparently you can. If you get a certain amount of meters above the reboot, people will just spawn in your builds, and this could be a really easy way to troll some players. So the Guardian Shield was a really cool item, and Epic has honestly been popping off with the new items lately. But when the Guardian Shield came out, there was a big issue where if you're using the Guardian Shield, your footstep audio was non-existent. So I actually wanted to put this myth in the video, but as you can see, it actually doesn't work anymore, and Epic fixed this, so props to them. So there's a lot of secret rooms in the brutal Bastion, and people have discovered some interesting things, but I'm hearing this rumor that there's actually a secret Zelda reference. After looking around, I found a secret room, and honestly, this is pretty surprising. So this red text and the sword is definitely giving off Zelda vibes, and I feel like it is somewhat of a Zelda reference, but could they be teasing a collaboration? I don't really know. If you guys remember last chapter with the crash pads, people could use the crash pads to launch their vehicles across the entire map. And Epic actually changed the way the crash pads work so that they don't stack, but there's still a way to kind of do them. And I tried to use some stacking methods in creative, and unfortunately you just don't get enough momentum. So this myth is busted. So the new Bush Warrior perk came out, and it's honestly one of my favorites, super useful. But the question is, can you actually use it to heal a vehicle that's damaged? So we're going to use a trick from earlier in the video to see if this works. It does not, unfortunately. So there's this giant ice lake on the map, and there's been so many crazy theories and rumors about what's under the ice, and I've seen all kinds of crazy clickbait. But apparently people are saying that if you stand on the ice long enough, you can actually hear some sort of cracking noise. So I went there myself and sat on the ice for a while, and I boosted my audio, and I did end up hearing this noise. Now, could this be just atmospheric sound effects, or is Epic trying to tell us something? So last chapter, they actually nerfed Mystique, and they removed her ability to transform into unreleased skins or even NPC skins in general, because there was a lot of pay-to-win situations going on. But in chapter 4, there was a rumor that Mystique can actually turn into the Ageless if she defeats him. And after trying this out for myself, you can actually turn into him. So I was actually wrong in a recent video where I said that Mystique can't do this anymore. In a recent update, Epic added the Falcon Scouts, and in the trailer, they show that it can carry your knocked teammates, but they decided not to tell us that it can apparently carry knocked enemies as well. I guess they didn't want to be too toxic, but yes, this is true. You can carry knocked enemies and pretty much throw them to their death or bring them to your location and thirst them yourself. Apparently, there's a myth where you can drive around in first person in Fortnite, and this actually is true. This happened when Epic made an update to the trucks that have cargo on them. So yeah, this myth is confirmed, but you can't really drive long in first person mode. So the new Zero Chance perk just got added to the game, and honestly, it's one of my favorite perks. Every streamer that I've played with loves it. It's so powerful, so much fun. Now, the question is, does this perk work if you crack an NPC shield? And the answer is yes, you do get it. It does take some time, but this perk is so much fun. So some of you might have figured out that if you mantle off of a dirt bike, you actually get launched into the sky. But there's a myth going around that if you mantle onto anything after jumping off of your dirt bike, you will be launched. And this myth is confirmed. So if you try this, please be careful because you can fall to your death. The Deku Smash finally got unvaulted after that weird God mode glitch it had. But the question is, does it stand a chance against the Guardian Shield? And yes, it goes right through the Guardian Shield. Honestly, I don't know how to feel about that. So there's a rumor that the Gray Ranger Assault Rifle is actually obtainable in Chapter 4. All you have to do is find Little Whip from the Rift event and eliminate him. But actually, by the time we're recording this, they changed it, and now he drops a Gray Scar instead of a Gray Ranger. All right, in Chapter 4, can you rocket ride an Excalibur shot? Okay, we tried this a bunch of times, and honestly, I don't think so. Maybe, but if it is, it's super hard. Can you actually use the hammer and bounce off of a jellyfish? The answer is yes. You get the heal and you bounce off the jellyfish. I'm sure there's gonna be one person watching this video who's gonna win a game because of that. That was 40 myths in Fortnite Chapter 4. Thank you guys so much for watching.